Okay, so video two in the entire entrepreneur system launch behind the scenes thing for YouTube. I'm going to get into the exact playbook I'm using for my strategy sessions so that you can kind of also see behind the curtain and then use this to reverse engineer potentially how you build your product or how you think about what these strategy sessions calls could be for you. And so, one more time to set the stage, launching what I call the entire entrepreneur community, and using a strategy that I call the banana sand system, which means to say, have fun. The money's right there, in plain sight in your banana stand, um, and attempt when you can. One of the mechanisms inside of that is to use a sawdust strategy. So, what's the work you've done before? How can you package it up, productize a service, and then welcome people to join you? And so, the model I'm using, I'm about to illustrate for you. The idea here is I need to say things into the world via email, via social, however you know people in real life, text, and get them interested. When they're interested, I do a pre-call qualification series of questions. If they pass that qualification, we have a strategy session. Strategy session is blocked for 90 minutes. Some have gone shorter, most have, but I make it clear that the objective is that this call is incredibly meaningful both for them and for me. We assess each other and assess fit. And without further ado, here is the exact kind of sales support strategy that I use in these strategy sessions. And so we join the call and do some introduction, say hello, hi, ask a meaningful, thoughtful question, a level 8 question, which is calibrated, has them thinking, and immediately set the tone as there's going to be some meaningful questions coming my way. And then I lay out the framework of the conversation, which is GPS. We need to know where we are in order to get where we want to go. That path is defined both by the destination and where we begin. And so following the GPS framework, we look at goals. Where are we headed? What do we want to achieve? P is present. What does the world look like for them right now? S is what's the stuff that's getting in the way. And so we spend a meaningful amount of time unpacking each of those letters, asking thoughtful questions, asking follow-up questions to really understand where they're at, where they want to be going, and what's blocking them. The discovery is that what's blocking them is always them. It's always the guy between their ears, person between their ears, and that is not news. And so with that, we transition into the product, into the community, into the offer, and I try and reiterate back to them what I heard and somehow or another work back these points that consistently come up. Is that the dream is X, the promise of the program is Y. What that means is we'll stop scrambling, we'll no longer quit on projects, and we'll overcome resistance or whatever is relevant for your product type. But we underline everything that's happened so far with very clear promises. And when possible, we want to then take a step into, well, here are the 3 things that we're going to be doing. 3 is always a good number. It could be more. Probably shouldn't be much less. 2 is good too, I guess, but 3 is the target. In my world, it's a question of being, doing, and having. Having is also in this context called earning. They are all critically important, having clarity on what you want and what needs to happen to get those things and who you need to be the person who does the things that get those outcomes is all critically important. Most important of all of it is who you are being, but that's not where most people want to start. And so language, psychology, lay it out as these 3 things are critically important together. They are strands in a rope when used and bound tightly together when that identity is clear. there's a lot of strength. And so like a fisherman's bracelet, like any heavy duty rope, 3 strands creates a lot of power. Our program, at the highest level, we want to be able to point to very clear visual representations, diagrams that point towards outcomes. And so the diagrams that I'm using are a telephone booth, an iPhone, and an ATM, on the promise that what we're building, the 3 mechanisms in this entire entrepreneur system, the crystal clear ways of talking about it is the telephone booth is what you use to change from your version of Clark Kent into your version of Superman. So a whole system called the Authored Identity Framework is built around this phone booth as a illustrative communication tool to make it clear where we're headed. The second pillar promise in the program is an operating system. So I can point to how most solutions look like applications or standalone tools. So a calculator, a date book, a Rolodex now lives inside of one operating system. That operating system you can add applications into, but they all work a certain way. And what that means is that we have systems, we have structure, we have a repeatable process that we default back to. That's an operating system. That's one of the promises of this platform. And then the last is, how do you increase your cash flow? How do you build a business that operates like an ATM, or at least have the knowledge that inside of your business is an ATM that you can call on as needed, as desired in revenue runs, which is what I'm executing, to get the outcome you want. And so I use this visually for me. I'm not necessarily presenting this on these sales calls currently. In the future, potentially I will. But I have this front and center, I have this in front of me as I talk through the promises of the platform, the promises of the product. I make it clear that none of this exists yet. I will be building it in real time. And because I'm building it in real time, I'm offering what I call VIP, and I define all these terms, but VIP means unlimited one-to-one laser coaching and access via our, the platform that we'll use for chat and content. And so this is the playbook I'm using on these sales calls to get people to feel very excited about outcomes that will be achieved when we work together. I've set it up to be as clear as possible, despite not being necessarily tangible yet. And like these products don't exist. There's no worksheet for them to use. It's all real, but it's not concrete yet. No matter, the excitement is exceptionally high. The close rate is, I can pull it up, but it's over 75%. The total revenue in the first 2 weeks of sales calls, 3 days of actual days blocked for sales calls, is over $10,000. So I've hit at least that first threshold of success as I defined it for this launch. It's going great. So next week, the program will start. I'll give you some more color on how things are being built. I want you to see the sales cadence, the sales flow on this strategy session, getting people to raise their hand, say that they're excited, validate that they're a good fit generally, and then we do a bunch of work and spend a bunch of time making sure that it makes sense. And at the end of the call, it's a relatively high ticket offer, and they say yes. Oh my God, that sounds great. That's actually kind of reasonable. If any of these things work, then it's exceptionally reasonable. And you say, great, here's the checkout page. Let's do it while we're on the call. And then I'll just make sure everything goes through, and I'll the next thing I'll do is I'll send you your welcome email. Test it out. Don't trust me. Give it a shot. If you have any questions, TonyBertaccio.com, makingitcreative.com, or drop a comment. Talk to you soon.